My name is Chen Weiling, and I'm tom60229, and I have Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, but I didn't use it. 今年的话，我自己最喜欢的选手应该是 Viper 吧，因为 Viper 他在很多细节的处理上蛮好，就是他有想到。他每一回合拿来思考的时间是真的很认真在想，出了这张牌之后，对方会做什么回应，这样是比较好的一个做法。当然，他最后在冠亚赛第一场没打好，但是整体来说，我觉得他表现蛮稳定。枪术法呢，我自己很常，就是之前常常打资格赛的时候刚好遇到他。整体来说对上他的时候也是都蛮有压力。自己最喜欢的是奴隶战，在奴隶战的部分，其实，那个时候台湾的奴隶战，大部分选手是参照我的打法。那其实我的打法跟欧美的打法非常不一样，甚至很多欧美选手觉得我很多打法是错的，但是我觉得在奴隶战的打法上，我领先他们蛮多。在大师职业联赛里面，我当然希望可以赢越多场越好。那当然，最后目标就是冠军。
My real name is Jung-soo Kim, and I use Surrender. I also use Twitter. Rory, he's one of my favorite Korean player. He's like 6 years older than me, so he treats me like his little brother. But if we have to face each other, then I'm gonna beat him, of course. If there is a rival in my group, then it should be Tom, I think, since we played each other so many times and I always lost to him. Yeah, it should be Tom. I really want to beat him. So the best part of being Grandmaster is, I think, is giving me a motivation. Yeah, so I can play Hearthstone more often and stream more often and yeah, be a better player. My favorite Western player streamer is Thais, I think. Thais is he plays really well and he always in high region. Yes, I like their stream. I have been playing Hearthstone for 5 years and I think I have done this pretty well. I mean, when it comes to playing tournament, I think I did it pretty well, but I don't think I was close to my friends. Like, I didn't stream very much and I didn't talk to my friends very often, and so I would like to be closer to my fan, to Hearthstone community.
Hello and welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Asia Pacific region. During that break in which you learn about Tom and Surrender, I broke Raven. Yeah, we've been watching memes on the internet, so I apologize. Our next match, as you may have divined, is going to be tom60229 versus Surrender. Both of these players are still in contention for playoffs in the top 3.
Let's just throw up the deck list so I can compose myself.
Let's throw up the deck
Tom
list.
is on the Cyclone Mage as I try and regain some level of focus as I now decide I hate Derek for messing me up on that intro. But most importantly, this is a Cyclone Mage and has a bit of a slightly different build, maybe not the most standard you'd see on ladder, with the Loons, Pocket Hawks, and also those Astromancers in the main deck.
This is very clearly an anti-warrior main deck, I would say, for Tom. However, actually, having said that, this is a strong deck against warrior. He has an even stronger deck in his secondary with Archmage Antonidas, Twilight Drakes, Ooze, and Harrison slotted in there for an even stronger chance. However, I would argue against the Rogue, which Surrender is going to be bringing, this is a pretty miserable primary deck for the Mage.
It is. It's a big fear. There's still the Frost Novas there, but if we move on to look at Surrender's Rogue, the problem really is you can almost see how the game is likely to play out
Right.
is that Surrender just goes too fast to do anything, and the second Tom gets stuck with 1 to 2 late game draws like these Astromancers, he's just a card, not only a card down, but also just not when he plays it on 7, even if he gets there, it's not going to be enough against this kind of speed.
Usually, I would agree with you. I think that there's some situations where the Rogue can go very slowly if they go for a late game Spirit of the Shark kind of game plan with getting a lot of value off of the Novice Engineer and the Evil Cable Rats. But I agree, generally the Rogue is going to be playing a lot quicker, especially if they find cards in their mulligan, like the SI7 agent or
Even
the Blink Fox as well. Yes, yeah, exactly. Snip Snap, any of the 3-drops are fantastic to just go 3-drop into Life Drinker or Hench Clan Burglar and get the pressure rolling.
Yeah, and also as well with the Rogue, one of the benefits that this build has is it not only has backstab, but even just using a Vendetta on a Sorcerer's Apprentice, you know, to deal with any of that kind of weird pesky opening, Sorcerer's Apprentice or Luna. The tools are there, even with the Waggle Pick as well, being able to get to it without, you know, potential taunts as well. So it's I think it's going to be rough for Tom, and the fact that I wouldn't even say his tertiary deck is that much better. His tertiary is +1 Doomsayer, a Sandbinder, and a 1 Rabble Bouncer.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I wouldn't say that much better than the main deck versus Rogue. And
I would agree.
If a deck you can change to isn't better, and your main deck isn't built to beat Rogue, then I fear for Tom. Maybe Tom lent too much on predictions of what his opponents are going to bring. Surrender has been bringing a lot of Bomb Warrior. I think Bomb Warrior is Surrender's most brought deck this season.
And I think that for Tom, this just feels like, honestly, quite a weak anti-Rogue sideboard. Because I feel like it's not only that he's not substituting in enough cards, he's not substituting in my opinion, the right cards. If this is the anti-Rogue sideboard, which I predict it is, I think much more important than Sandbinder, Doomsayer, and Rabble Bouncer are Zilliax. Primarily, you really want that healing. Halftime Scavenger can be nuts against the Rogue. Even just a Frostbolt, which Tom is not running any of, now seem pretty core in the deck list.
Yeah, I'm going to go wild here, but I actually think, as we get into Game 1, we'll talk about Game 1, give me a minute. I actually think like the secondary list might be better versus Rogue in a weird world. Double weapon removal, one of which is Swampoos, 2 Twilight Drakes, so big stuff to play early, and Antonidas, well, whatever. But you do lose the Frost Novas, but it's only 1 evocation, 2 Sea Giants you lose. So
I see your point.
It's not great, but I feel like that's a better deck versus Rogue than the tertiary.
I see your point. I don't quite agree because Surrender substitutes out one of the Waggle picks, so the weapon removal becomes significantly less impactful. But I get your point that for Tom, it doesn't feel like, in my opinion, a particularly well-tuned anti-Rogue sideboard. But in this first game, at the very least, Tom has found a very well-tuned hand indeed. This is insane.
Yeah,
it just got even insaner.
The magic trick thing, you know.
We could honestly have seen Coin Apprentice, Magic Trick, Evocation Cyclone.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have hated that.
It was the 4th of July yesterday, but fireworks are going to fly now because there is, I think, 0 reason not to make this turn.
Oh my god.
Oh wow, Tom's going for the 0 reason. I guess with the Ray of Frost pickup,
Tom is going
he wants
for
to get
the
more value.
Omega turn. Like, oh my god, this is going to be powerful. I think this is fine. I honestly think this is fine. Like, if he goes in all in too early, I think he leaves himself too vulnerable to backstab SI, backstab. Because like, if he plays any minions there, Surrender can then go backstab Miscreant, whereas before that wasn't available. Now, I 100% agree. It's the time. Oh my god, the mirror image. That's insane. Does he ever take Snap Freeze?
Yeah.
Oh, mirror image is so good against
Rogue.
He
kills the 3/3. Because he can Ray of Frost it, right?
Yeah.
Ray of Frost, Snap Freeze. That's.
Wow.
I think you'd rather kill the minion than delay the minion.
I guess you're right.
If you were bothered about backstab,
I think it was really close, actually. I think it was really close.
Okay, I think this was good.
I agree. This is probably slightly better.
And woo! Well, Luna's is a whiff.
Oh my god.
You can't make him cost 1 twice. Well, you can, it's just so.
If that was against Warrior, that would have been the strongest Pocket Galaxy I think I've ever seen. It's not bad against Rogue, it's got to be said though. Even the second Galaxy is fine. You gladly take a dead card for those 3 powerhouses.
Yeah.
Especially as Tom can find almost guaranteed, or sorry, likely 2 out of 3 a Mountain Giant on this turn. I mean, he probably goes Pocket Galaxy
I think you
first,
Pocket
right?
Galaxy then draw, yeah. Because 0 mana mountain, as long as you've got a card in hand,
my
is
God.
redonkulous.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, if Surrender is considering picking Heroic Strike over Power Word Shield, that just speaks to how bad of a position he's in, because Power Word Shield is so much better of a card.
It's just a good card, right?
It's an insane card. It's one of the highest power level cards in Hearthstone by a long way, I think. And I think he was honestly considering not picking it just to guarantee himself some more removal.
And you see the power level of Pocket Galaxy. We've talked a lot about Pocket Galaxy since the buff.
We have.
And I think right now, yes, this is a very convenient turn and, you know, enough leeway for Tom to get away with it. But you're about to see the power level of Pocket Galaxy. Is now he's guaranteed the Giant, which is...
Oh, yeah, he is absolutely guaranteed. Yeah. Giving you the tinglies. The power level.
It is, because, you know, Vanish is out now.
Yeah.
So what Tom can do is play Sandbinder next turn, hold the Giant, and just go the turn after. Ooh, I made the noise again. I think Tom, I think there's a chance, and we're not going to see it, that Tom could play Luna's Pocket Galaxy again next turn and still win the game. Honestly.
I think there's a high chance we don't see that.
I said we're not going to see it. I'm just saying if Tom did that
Yes.
for the funnies, if he was streaming, maybe he'd do that and still probably win.
His minions then cost 1 squared. I'm not wrong.
That's why it was funny.
It's funny when I'm not wrong. It's just such a rare occurrence that it is quite comical. Surrender honestly considering I think if you should go for the value trade plus Witchy Lackey, or even just face actually in Witchy Lackey. But I think I like getting rid of it.
Oh, this is what I mean. It's so he can draw, play Mountain Giant and Astromancer this turn.
Yes.
Now he plays it.
I'd like to see the Mountain Giant be saved for Conjurer's Calling.
I'd just go all in me and be like, whatever.
Really?
Let's go, yeah.
Oh, what a low roll for Tom. Only developing, what is that, like 12, 14 of stats from turn 5.
And I think very quickly Surrender might have to say, I need to aim things at face.
Surrender has some powerhouse turns, though, to be fair. With the combo of Heist Baron into Wand plus Spirit of the Shark, 0 mana cards work very, very well with Spirit of the Shark. Unless he's a Goblet gamer. Like, I mean, who knows?
No one at this point. No one.
In case you weren't watching earlier, we saw Toland's Goblet into Bomb against Bomb Warrior. It was mental.
Oh, I get it. The crown splits into 2 because you create 2 minions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I get it. Wondrous Wand has like cool colors flying around. Makes sense.
Oh, I get it. Golden Kobold sucks. I also got informed as well, I guess actually, shout out. I wasn't actually aware of this, that you can tell which treasure your opponent picked off of Heist Baron Togwaggle, because the treasures, even when they're face down to you, are always in the same order. So shout out to Captain Kitty, world famous Dutch Hearthstone player. Appreciate you, buddy.
And if that's not true and you just baited Derek, even bigger shout out.
I mean, to be fair, great prank if that's the case. Props to you.
Literally called it out on GM and you're like, everyone in Twitch chat's like, that's just not how the game works. I mean, there's a lot of hums going on, but I literally don't know what Surrender can do if Tom just freezes these minions and goes face.
Like, yes.
Is there any real
like,
reason?
is there ever lethal over the top? Like, if we were to see Wondrous Wand into
Sap.
Well, it's not even that. It's just like Life Drinkers, and then it's like Life Drinker or Shark. Like next turn, Shark, Life Drinker, Kobold Lackey, Step, Kobold Lackey. Like, if Surrender gets the absolute utter dream off of this wand,
I don't think
maybe
it's possible.
he has a chance. I don't think it's possible either.
So I like this play from Tom, just saying, you know what?
Yes, I agree.
You're dead. It's one of the principles of Mage you understand very quickly, is that sometimes you just freeze them and set up 2-turn lethal out of nowhere because your minions are that powerful when they're actually stick.
This was, I think, when the deck went from kind of a meme into realizing the powerhouse of it is when people started putting Frost Nova in the deck.
Yeah.
Is they realized what the deck actually does well, which is you just don't interact with your opponent.
It's Freeze Mage, but with minions instead of damage spells.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I mean, speaking of the nuts, Ziliax, there's a Vendetta, there's now a Cone of Cold.
This is a
It wasn't bad.
ridiculously strong turn from Surrender. Like, actually ridiculous.
And funny enough, Surrender can now play Tom's game and do what Tom's just done to him. Freeze the rest of the board out and set up like lethal from the other way. Look at all the cards in Surrender's hand.
Look
and
at all this damage.
He can push, what, 6, 7, 8? You can push 10 next turn from hand. From hand, Derek.
How much?
10.
That's a lot.
He can do
If he gets step,
Shark, Life Drinker, and then the 0 mana Lackey.
Surrender might actually just win.
It's one taunt.
Oh.
He's going to conjure us again into
Ooh.
one taunt.
That is a good start. That is a very, very good start. Spirit of the Shark, double Kobold Lackey on the Grave Horror
It
is not
doesn't
lethal.
matter.
Oh,
Right.
yes, yeah. Face, yeah, you're correct. It doesn't matter either way. So 4 health, no, sorry, 8 health remaining, I believe.
Wait.
for Tom.
So you
10 damage can be pushed
so you
face.
Shark,
Yes.
0 mana Lackey, Miscreant, and go for more Kobolds. I mean,
Okay. He has another Shark next turn. I mean, the Shark likely survives, but how does he survive the turn then?
can't he lethal him if he gets 2 more Kobolds?
No, because he would only have 1 mana left over.
Oh yeah, that's normally a problem, isn't it?
So I
So
think
he has to play
it
a different way.
probably has to be Shark Life Drinker on this turn, just to stay alive, right? Oh, this is brave. This is very
He has
brave.
to evolve too.
I guess.
He hit 0, the good Lackeys.
He can go attack in, trade. Can he even clear off enough to not die?
I mean, I hope so, because Surrender doesn't often make blunders, which this more or less is, right? If he has this damage and this much mana to use, to die this turn on board would be a huge blunder.
Yeah.
There's 18, 19 with ping, so there's 2 damage.
Banana
And,
Buffoon.
yeah, the Buffoony banana. Even if he didn't have that power
16,
of creation,
18,
gets there
19,
sometimes.
20, 21, yeah. Oh, what with the old Reckless Rocketeer. That is going to close it out, though, after a pretty disgustingly powerful
Brave.
game from Tom. And it's got to be said for Surrender, I counted him out a long time before he actually was.
Yeah, Tom had a insane hand, and Surrender still had a chance to set up the damage for potential lethal, but did not get there. And Tom takes game number 1 versus Surrender, and they're starting to fight back and maybe keep his place for trying to get into top 3.
I wonder if on that last turn from Surrender, because I think, I'm not even saying this was the correct play, I think he could have ended up with 1 more effective health at the end of that turn, because playing the Miscreant plus the 1 mana Kobold Lackey allowed him to clear 5 extra damage off the board in the form of the Astromancer, which was cleared off, yes. But if he'd kept back the 1/1 or the 1 mana Kobold Lackey and instead played Life Drinker, he would have gained 6 health and not removed a 5 attack minion. So he would have stayed alive, I believe, at 1 health. I'm not even certain that's the correct play, because it might be best to just say, if you have Banana Buffoon, you win. I'm giving myself the highest chance to deliver counter-lethal on the following turn. So I think it was arguably a necessary risk there from Surrender. But super, super interesting that right there at the end of the game, there was still decisions for Surrender to be made that could arguably have won him the game if he'd gone for the Life Drinker.
Yeah, and even in a further out scenario of just saying, well, those Blink Fox with with potential of getting whatever at that point to change some things up. But Tom took game number 1, a pretty close game, even though it didn't look like it from the start. But now that the players get to switch around a little bit with their decks, and we'll see if that happens right after the break. Don't go anywhere.
What's up, Hearthstone fans? Welcome back to another episode of The Curve, where we draw the biggest headlines from this past weekend on Curve. I'm your host, Simon Sottle Welch. Let's do this. Last week in the Asia-Pacific region, Alutemu was on top of the division and was almost locked in for a guaranteed playoff spot. Unfortunately, his 2 losses this weekend not only put his playoff spot in jeopardy, but also allowed the rest of his division peers to further complicate the postseason picture. In the current standings for Division A, all of the players except for Chiansu can now vie for the top 3 spots. In Division B, Shaxi's back-to-back wins clinched him a spot in the playoffs. Dawn and Glory are close to clinching as well, but will have to finish strong to secure their fate. After a shaky 3-4 start to Grandmasters, reigning world champion Hunter Ace has rattled off 5 consecutive match wins, securing himself first place in the Division B standings heading into the final week of Season 1. This past weekend, he avenged 2 of his losses from earlier in the season by besting fellow former world champion Pavel, as well as Psycho, who fell to 2nd place in Division B. Over in Division A, close friends and practice partners Viper and Bunny Hopper faced off in a crucial match. Bunny Hopper won the series, setting both players' match records to 7 and 5. A clear 3-horse race for the 2 remaining Division A playoff spots alongside Finomino has formed between the 2 German players and Calento, who sits an 8 and 4 after a tough loss to Silvername. Teammates Frozen and Dog both beat a Warrior and a Mage with a Rogue this weekend. They're both sitting on top of their division and they have both clinched a spot in the playoffs. It's a good time to be a fan of Team Liquid in the Americas region. Both Liquid players were able to assert their dominance through good meta reads and some simply outstanding rogue play. The rest of the playoff picture in the Americas region is starting to fill out, as Eddie also secured his spot in Division A, while in Division B, Monsanto is in a good position to secure one of the 2 remaining spots. In China, the inaugural GTC champions were crowned in the first week of June. Right before the Masters Tour in Las Vegas, Team Lucky Future won their double elimination tournament to end the first season. Team LF didn't drop a single series and beat tournament favorite Team World Elite once in the winners round and once in the grand finals to earn their trophy. In this week's meta moment, we have to highlight Team Liquid's Rogue. Both Liquid players, Dog and Frozen, played their decks exceptionally and were able to win in unfavored matchups. With a combination of countless resource generators paired with consistent lackey and treasure pressure, the deck seemed to have an answer for every situation, while also packing an immense amount of burst potential. If you missed any of the Grandmasters action, you can check out the VODs on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Hearthstone Esports. Grandmasters resumes this weekend, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That's it for us. We'll see you in the tavern.
Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters. We not halfway, third maybe through, the match of Tom versus Surrender. Match number 3 of the day, and we can check out the deck list that they have moved to. I believe they've both moved to their tertiary lists. So there is the no Pocket Galaxy and no Astromancers for Tom, and he's actually adding the Doomsayer, Sandbinder, and Rabble Bouncer that we mentioned at the start of the match. And again, for me, like, just doesn't seem like it gets there.
Yeah, the weird thing is that the 2 cards that Tom is taking out were the 2 best cards in the matchup. Well, actually, I guess the Apprentice Cyclone was the real powerhouse, but they were very, very powerful in that game. It's not to say, however, that like a Doomsayer early on wouldn't have been powerful too, because on average, you're not going to get the kind of hand that Tom got last game. It was super, super powerful, obviously. But overall, I think it makes his chances better. I would still argue not by that much. I think there are better cards to substitute in the current metagame, especially. Like there's just so many cards that Tom is missing even from his primary deck. Like Snip Snap isn't there, Frostbolt, Ziliax, Antonidas, Twilight Drake is going in a lot of primary decks as well. It's a weird build of Mage, but far am I from criticizing too heavily Tom's play with Mage after he obviously got a top 8 performance at Masters Tour Vegas.
Yep, and let's check out Surrender's tertiary deck as well. So this, I would say, just on paper makes much more sense.
Oh yeah, very
remove the Novice Engineer, the Cable Rat, just more of the value generation, and getting in that 1 Betrayal. The Fairy Dragons just always hit, and they're very, very difficult to deal with for Mage. And then just double walk the Plank to just answer something on curve, and also just have a 1-card, 1 answer sort of thing, which Rogue does not do that well right now. It has a great way to generate a lot of cards and to do loads of combo stuff, but there isn't really 1 card go away,
Yeah.
which exists in the deck at the moment.
The hard removal in Rogue has been lacking since Wellspine Slayer rotated out, with Assassinate rarely finding its spot in Rogue, I would say.
Yeah, and Vendetta now kind of does that job of one card killer minion, but less so against Mage just because of the sheer volume of large minions it has. Against most decks, it is one card kill, but yeah, I do like the Walk the Planks, even though I think historically in GM, we've not seen Walk the Planks get that much done. It's not been like, whoa, he has Walk the Planks, he just wins. You know, it's more just, oh, he's drawn a Walk the Plank, he isn't dead.
Yes.
Which is more, you know, judges the power level of the tech card. Right?
Absolutely, and I think we've seen a lot of players come to the same realization you have, that it's not the almighty card that can just destroy mages, but also we've seen mages play around it much more effectively, going for starts like we saw from Tom there. There was, I'm not actually certain if this was true. I think if you were given the hand Tom was, you would hold on to it. But at the start of Cyclone Mage, it wasn't thought of as Cyclone Mage, it was thought of as Mountain Giant Mage, pretty much. Even when you're playing the Cyclone version as opposed to the Book of Spectres version, the hand you looked for on the mulligan was always Mountain Giant Conjurer's Calling, whereas now, players are showing a lot more flexibility.
Yep, and let's go into game number 2. Tom, going to keep hold of that Doomsayer that he did take in with his side deck. And Surrender, though, has a few choice mulligans to make. He does just keep the Blink Fox and the Miscreant. Most importantly to point out for Surrender is that he has the coin, which is big.
Yes, it's not even so much that it's good for him, because it's looking now like the better curve will actually just be Fairy Dragon Blink Fox. But literally just denying Tom from having it is the...
well, we're looking at the two decks in the game right now that want the coin the most. So whenever you have it and your opponent doesn't in that matchup, you're feeling pretty good about life.
Right, I remember Frozen remarking on his stream the other day that the most powerful card in Hearthstone at the moment is the coin.
Fairy Dragon on curve looks okay to me, but now we're going to quickly get to the point where we discover whether Surrender loves his Miscreants or not.
Or is it Edwin on this turn? Like the curve of coin, Edwin, Blink Fox, Shark? I guess maybe that's a little bit slow. Like you can set up a super huge Edwin after the Spirit of the Shark.
Pretty much the only way Tom had a good response to a Fairy Dragon is this Doomsayer. Does he just play the Blink Fox anyway?
I wonder if he goes Coin Miscreant. Because if he goes Coin Miscreant this turn, next turn it's Spirit of the Shark, turn after double Lackey Edwin. Yeah. It's probably not very good.
And then it gets frozen till the end of time is the problem, isn't it?
Yes. Blink Fox is just like good though. Like the 3/3 body is very powerful, but I mean it's mainly very powerful when played on curve.
Yeah, and my question is like, when else are you playing it? There's Life Drinker, there's Cleave, there's Miscreant with the Lackeys, there's the Shark to fit in. I think 3 mana, draw a card, kind of. Yeah. It's just as good as you're going to get. This was an unlikely outcome, I would say. You know, Surrender to get a good early game combined with Tom's Doomsayer that just shuts it down with no, say, backstab or anything like that. Like, you just got to choose to go with none of those things and just say, you know what, it's cool.
I think it's probably for the best. Like, Blink Fox losing the 3/3 body, I don't think it's worth it for just the spell. Coin Miscreant loses you the coin, which is very powerful. I think a little bit slower here is the way to go for all Surrender. Worth pointing out as well, I guess, at this somewhat slow point in the game, that for Surrender, he does not have to win this game in order to advance through. He is likely, very likely, to advance through anyway to the top 3 in playoffs. Tom, however, has to win both his games to even have a chance. After he wins both his games, he's not guaranteed. Yeah. Even if he wins both his games, I would say it's quite unlikely.
But if he loses, he is guaranteed to be out.
He is guaranteed out. That is correct.
Looks like a good Ray of Frost pick for me. Ooh, he's gone for Entity to play it this turn. And
honestly, I was looking at Snap Freeze on that turn to be able to answer a big Edwin.
I guess for me, it was the no other freezes in hand issue. Right? It's like, it was why, okay, we'll start with Ray of Frost, you might get something.
That hand is insane for Tom. Those spells, the fact that he can go Evocation Giant Scorch next turn, if available, or just Polymorph, is very, very strong. That is half very good and half very bad options off the Miscreant there.
I'd take that.
I mean, actually, Goblin Lackey might not be that bad if you get a Togwaggler and Edwin down.
I actually think for Surrender, even if it was just 1 mana, 1/1, do nothing, it's still a good enough card right now just because of that Edwin's in hand.
Fair point. Does it go for the Edwin this turn, though? It comes out at a 10/10? Which is obviously impressive.
Do you have a Shadow Step the Miscreant and go Edwin? But with
That's
the
tempting,
Shark,
yeah.
you probably don't need it. Is it always going this way? Interesting.
Ah.
I was going to say, I think Shadow Step happened somewhere that turn. I just wasn't
Yeah.
sure where and how, because at first I was like, well, if you play Edwin, you don't Shadow Step, because if you Shadow Step something, you don't need the Miscreant, and you don't want to Shadow Step the Shark, because that actually reduces Edwin. So yeah, that was a weird turn, but Surrender went for the Shark in hand now, because look at the level of value. He will never end this game.
The value he gets is ridiculous. And I guess the thing is, I was going to say that value isn't necessarily what he needs at the moment. He needs to be moving a little bit quicker towards pressure and damage to face. This play did that as well. There's still a 10/10 Edwin on board, and despite the fact we can see Tom has the polymorph, on average, Surrender comes out in a pretty good position here. It's just the honor that you receive when you become a Hearthstone World Champion. You're good at getting necessary polymorphs.
Just part of the
package.
It's just you hit that higher plane of understanding,
Exactly.
and you can start to
You
influence.
ascend.
Yeah. Still though, pretty solid hand from Surrender. He's by no means out yet.
Oh,
just
not
got
even close.
the Edwin shutdown means very little at this point. Would have been nice to get a cheeky swing in, but I don't even know what you pick.
Daring Escape is so slow. I mean, all of these cards are really slow.
Right.
This is trash off of this. I guess
Maybe
Fan
Fan
of
just
Knives.
to draw one more into your deck. Like, is that just okay?
Maybe just for the 1 damage, right? Like, it's possible that can help you kill off a Khadgar or something like that. Wow. I'm surprised to see that, I have to be honest.
We did see Pilfer offered, and as Derek informed me today, because I'll be honest, I did not know, Pilfer has been changed to work like the most of the other Rogue Thief cards, which
Yes.
is from a different class, whereas it used to do from your opponent's class, which it makes a big impact.
Yes, allows you to activate Fence and Vendetta in the mirror. And obviously give you a wider range of outs. How's that Daring Escape looking now, buddy? Wow, those were some pretty nutty spells developed there for Surrender, though. Getting Walk the Plank. I mean, Daring Escape obviously sucks, but Turncoat Contract is pretty nuts.
It is. Did you see which version it was?
Yes, that the Turncoat one is deal its damage
Oh,
to
so you
adjacent
gain it,
minions. Yes.
Oh, wait. No, yeah.
It's the Betrayal version.
Yep. And considering he's got a Betrayal in his deck right now, it's not so shabby.
It's very good. And Tom has to be very, very afraid of going for the Evocation Giant Conjurer's Calling on this turn. It's tempting, and it's by far the most powerful play he can make. But there's so much that shuts it down.
Time runs out on me.
And therefore he's saying, not good enough.
Arena's full. Beat it.
He's setting up, it looks like, for next turn, Evocation, Giant, Khadgar, Conjurers. This is smart. This is very smart. Because I think going for the Giant plays on this turn, there's so much that it dies to. Even ignoring the randomly generated spells, Surrender has the answers in his deck. Whereas this, there's significantly less that can answer 4 Giants.
And also just has Shark down.
Right.
Which makes it feel worse, right? You
True.
know,
True.
the weird part here now is Surrender's got too many cards in hand. So he needs to play the Lackey, the Rush Lackey.
Yeah.
And then play Tog if he wants to go for Tog. Is he just going 1 for 1? He's just taking 1 treasure. Why can't you just play... Can you not just play the Lackey, the Rush one?
Does he want to do something else? Would he... Oh, I think he's saying, I would rather have 1 less card in hand than an extra treasure. because he wants to be able to draw next turn with the wand.
Okay. That's fair. That makes more sense. And he gets
Or
his trade off
he'd
as well.
overdraw, right?
Yeah, he'd overdraw next turn.
Yes. But here we go, the turn that Tom very, very cleverly set up for. I love this 2-turn setup from him. Is coming into effect
Surrender's
now.
happy though. He's like, okay, let's go.
Wow. No Grave Horrors, first of all, which is obviously fantastic in terms of being able to push damage face. It's also fantastic in terms of turncoat clone. Wow, I cannot say that. Is it turncoat or turncoat?
Turncoat.
Turncoat.
I think.
Yes, I think you're right.
Turncoat
the
is
betrayal
the,
contract. It's going to deal very easily with 3 of these giants. This is a full clear if you want it.
Okay, I'm gonna guess the origin of that thing. I'm sure it's to do something like the red coats and stuff, and they would like, if they change sides, they would literally change the color of their.
Well, I think it's you turn around and walk to the enemy, right, and you see the.
I thought it was like a historic thing.
It is a historic thing, right? Like people who would wear cloaks or coats.
Oh, okay.
I think. I mean, I'm guessing. I'm unaware of the.
I thought it was from like a specific era.
Oh,
from
maybe,
like a specific
maybe.
Thingy.
I assume
But
it's a
anyway,
little bit more generic. But yes, as you say,
that was a fantastic use of the contract, and
that was insane.
And now with Sap as well, like you might think, oh, but he's just sapping a giant, but he can replay. Well, he's -1 Conjurer's Calling and -1 Khadgar right now, and less cards in hand overall.
And that
was just good.
Oh, with the CAD card down, even if we were to see from Tom, Giant Conjurer's Calling, there's the answer in hand. Double walk the flank, boom.
Nods from Surrender, yeah, he knows how this game goes. He knows he can read Tom's hand because he knows 2 of the cards in there.
Right.
And they're highly likely to be played.
And although we could see the possibility of going for a Wondrous Wand this turn to play it and go for a potential lucky scenario where he can kill off both giants, I think I like the double walk the flank. He could even consider throwing out the Daring Escape now, purely to get a card out of hand. I think he's probably at the point where that's not good anymore.
I think it's okay, yeah, I think it's
But he does have Spirit of the Shark, Evil Cable Rat. Like, hand space could become an issue again, I think. Ooh. Ooh.
Okay.
Okay. You've piqued
Slow
my
turn
interest.
for now, though, because Sandbinder does not draw a card.
Does it draw nothing? Not even a Cyclone?
Oh, does it? Oh, no, it does draw a Cyclone, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting my games mixed up.
It was a double Cyclone game last game.
Yep.
Double Giant game this game. It's a reasonably powerful turn. I agree he would obviously much rather hit the Giant Calling button. But this is not bad at all. Oh my god.
Okay.
That's insane.
Let's start with Wand.
Yes, absolutely.
Wingardium Leviosa. Let's go.
It's actually Leviosa.
What's funny is, me and Derek match up to those accents fairly well, actually.
It's true.
Derek's Hermione, and I'm Ron. Ruru, and Surrender fights back. Conjures this. Sounds like a sequel to Surrender, a Surrender film. Surrender returns. Conjures this. Frost Shock, not bad. You can start to become the mage. You freeze your opponent and conjures call things. Multi-shot can be aimed on one target.
This is part of the trailer. Look at me. I am the mage now.
It'd be one of those low-budget films with like the really crappy narrator. It's like earlier on Surrender, he got beaten up by a mage, but on Conjurer's this, he became the mage himself. And yes, that narration was bad on purpose.
That was the joke.
Yeah, it's like, before everyone's like, God, he's bad at this.
That's why I'm going to say, this is a joke where my casting sucks. Carry on.
Too many jokes.
Too many jokes, yeah. Tom here, though, this is no joke. Still following up with the pressure of even more giants. There have been more there have been more generated Conjurer's Callings on both sides than there have been natural Conjurer's Callings so far. Surrender, however, despite facing more of an onslaught, still has fight back.
Surrender 3. Fight back. Just like the third film that no one wanted. It's not even Surrender playing himself, it's just some other person. They're like, yeah, we couldn't afford him. He won GM. It's just couldn't afford him after that.
Surrender, as portrayed by Jeff Goldblum.
I'd watch that film.
I would watch the heck out of that film. Are you killing me? Surrender 3, Fight Back, starring Jeff Goldblum.
Surrender. That'd be amazing.
Whoa! This is a spicy combo I've never seen before.
I love it. We just dare and escaped. And it's like, why did you do that? It's like, well, my board was full of value.
Surrender 4, Dare Escape. I mean, we could even see Frost Shock on this turn for an extra 3 damage if he wants to preserve his board, which I think he's actually moving towards. Oh no, maybe not. He's happy to have a completely full board. This does board lock him, which he kind of has to be afraid of. However, he has the yeet button of Daring Escape to just completely fix his board space issues.
We're playing straight into Sea Giant now. This is kind of a weird Conjurer's Con. It's very hit and miss, the 10 mana Conjurers, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, any of the 4 attack minions, Nozari in particular, is a pretty miserable result.
The big drawback of Kalagos, of course, is that you will have already cast a spell that turn, so it doesn't actually reduce anything down to 0.
It would be pretty nice next turn, however, with Pyroblast or Power of Creation.
Or both.
Or both, yes, you are correct.
Now, though, the Betrayal doesn't look mind-blowing, but it isn't bad. It removes the threat of this happening again.
Yeah.
Because if there's a freeze and another Conjurer, Surrender just dies next turn.
Oh wait, does Betrayal deal extra damage? Would it deal 7 damage to the...
Oh, spell damage Betrayal?
Goblin?
Surely not.
I think it would, right?
Does it?
I think so.
Well, I
I've
just thought it's the minions
I'm not sure.
hitting each other. It's not a spell doing the damage. I thought it was the minions doing the damage. The minions just fight, right? Like, Brawl doesn't make the minions do anything extra. Not that it would. That was a terrible example.
That's totally different. Yeah.
I don't know.
Like Duel, for example. But it's... No, I think it does because it's not making the minions attack each other. It's
Deals
saying,
their damage?
Yes, it deals damage equal to the minions' attack. The minions are not actually interacting.
Oh, the synergy.
Oh.
Last Night and the Life Drinker.
There's so many cool little synergies coming in here for Surrender. And it does mean he is very, very much approaching lethal on this turn. So for Tom, he needs to find an answer, and it looks like it's going to come in the form of...
Double
Missile Launcher? Does that clear the board?
It doesn't. The 1 minion's left, right? He trades into the... wait, is it what's better? He can ping the Glass Knight and then trade one of the 3/3s away, because why not?
Would you rather that than the Life Drinker? I guess. Sorry, the Spirit of the Shark? I guess so.
I think you're worried about dying, and I think by now it's more likely damage kills you than the Spirit of the Shark specifically. I think. Don't quote me on that.
So how much damage are we looking at here? Daring Escape Leroy is obviously not quite an option in terms of mana. Leroy...
I mean, that's an extra 2 damage just from the
damage
Lackey.
off lethal, I think, right?
It's 12, yeah. Well, if I'm Surrender, oh, can he put him to 12, 4, 8, 12, 22?
Oh, there we
go.
go. Cold Blood, that's lethal.
That'll ding-dang-do. Wait, yep, it's lethal. Yep, okay. Surrender.
That does mean we evened up 1 game apiece in this series for Tom. This is his absolute tournament life on the line. If he loses this series, he has no chance of advancing through to playoffs next week. Surrender, though, he still has a chance if he loses. But he's not out if he loses, I should say, sorry, but it will definitely help his chances if he wins. If he wins, he's a locked 100% top 3.
Yeah, and it's really, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's in the water today, but these matches are going crazy. Like, even from different sides of Tom's game 1, where it was crazy in the form of his draw was insane and just destroyed Surrender.
Yeah.
But then in game 2, that was just
Yes,
weird.
that
There was
was
just a
just
lot
weird.
of stuff going on. And then match number 1 of the day, I think if the rest of the weekend is like this, I'm going to need to get some more sleep and rest more. I don't think I can. I think my heart can take it at this point. It's nuts.
Well, first of all, I can tell you what's in the water. It's bamboo charcoal. Delicious. But also, I agree. There's been some very, very exciting matches. And I think for Surrender, with games like that, there's always a better way to play it. Like, when there's that much random generation going on Rogue, it's nigh on impossible to play the optimal game. I think, however, he had his priorities pretty well laid out there in that game, especially just even as far back as Edwin and then Step the Shark.
That was
put
solid.
down a very powerful turn in terms of the Edwin, and he realized that assuming he stays ahead on board, which Edwin very likely affords him the ability to do so, Spirit of the Shark will be insane. He'll stick around for the whole game because Tom will very much struggle to kill it off, and that came to fruition.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? Because it's just the recognition of if you can get Spirit of the Shark to have an impact over 2 turns, that's normally very good in Rogue. So he did get that just in a weird way of saying Spirit of the Shark's down, I make a big Van Cleave, then pull the Shark back instead of the usual or more common play of Shadow in the Van Cleave. And then you play it, and it's just an absurd health total.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it overall. I mean, I'm always impressed with the way Surrender plays. But this series specifically, as you mentioned, we mentioned at the start, is pretty much 2 of the best players, if not the 2 best players in this region.
Yeah.
And 2 of the best players in the world going up against each other. And it is for kind of all the marbles right now, because whichever player wins, it has a huge impact on the outcome of top 3 and of the rest of their division. It's huge.
It very much does. And for all the players at like 5 and 6 wins, like Frosty, Rivia, Staz, and Flurry, they're all very much wanting Surrender to win. They want the 2 players at the top in Surrender and
To stay
Alutemi
at the
to
top,
keep
yeah.
going good, because it's a fight for 3rd place pretty much at the moment. I think some of the players, if we factor in tiebreakers, could finish ahead of Surrender and even Alutemu, like Staz. I think maybe if he wins both his matches, or Rivius, if he wins both his matches, could get 1st seed. Because it's also worth saying 1st seed matters. In the top 3, you are given a bye, basically. You have to play 1 less round to advance through to being the victor if you finish top of your division.
Yep, and a big deal as well is as we just talk more and more, the players are getting ready to stick to the same decks, by the way. We're not just talking for the fun of it. But what's funny is with the tiebreak, the second tiebreak, which often comes down to if there's more than 2 people up for it, it goes off your opponent's scores, basically, of the people you beat.
The people you
right?
beat, yes.
So anyone who's also beaten Surrender wants Surrender to keep winning, because
That is
not
also
only is he
true.
2nd place,
Yeah.
but if he keeps winning and whoever beat him earlier in the tournament, their score goes up too. So it's just, there's so many things that each single player wants to happen differently.
Right.
It really is just all up in the air. So every single match that gets played out, we will step closer to finding a result for the top 3.
Yes.
We will do our best to inform you, but we'll get it double checked as well.
We will. And I think day 3, when most of the initial matches have been played, it will get a lot simpler. It will become pretty clear if this player wins, they have a chance. If they don't, they're out. Which is, relatively simple here. If Tom wins, he has a chance. If he loses, he does not. It's still a very slim chance, even if he wins, because it would involve none of the other players going to 8 wins.
Right.
But he's got a shot.
As
we
there's a
see,
chance.
I am saying there's a chance, as slim as it may be. Tom here, clearly indicating what his game plan is in this matchup against the anti-mage teched rogue, which is I don't want Giant or Conjurer's Calling in the starting hand. I think it's pretty smart, honestly.
It is. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because let's just take his opening hand as an example. You would say on average Rogue just dumpsters this, because all the minions are weaker and much lower tempo in general than Rogue minions. So although I do agree with the overall philosophy, Tom has to worry about just not going too slow or too, flimsy, maybe is the word, because Rogue, since forever, has preyed on slightly worse early game minions than their own.
And I would say Tom is not playing too slowly. Pointing out the Banana Buffoon.
Yeah,
here,
this I
think,
like, yeah.
Yes, I think this is great recognition of his position in the matchup. Wow, especially as we could now see Apprentice, double banana, and then even a mirror image. Yeah, just to get really far ahead on the board. It sets up for next turn another Banana Buffoon, or maybe the... the Sandbinder to try and find a Mana Cyclone. It's a very interesting couple of turns. I mean, or we could just see second Banana Buffoon is also tempting, right? Sets up for a very strong Apprentice turn next turn. Like, if he goes for the Banana Buffoon this turn and then draws Mana Cyclone next turn, that's just GG on the spot. Like, that's absurdly powerful. And maybe he should play to that out.
Well, that level as well is you can... Oh, it's really tough turn, actually. I don't mean tough as in bad. I mean tough as in too good.
Right.
There's like so many good options because you could even go deeper and go, I'm going to Buffoon, see what my next draw is. And if it's not something I want, then I'm going to Sandbinder potentially into a Cyclone. So you end up doing like turn 5 that you would do the big turn. But that big turn would be awfully large.
Whoa.
All right.
Surrender very happy there at finding the Marsh Drake. The 5/4 with no downside when the battle cry is not factored in.
And I think with that, Surrender should do everything he can to kill this minion.
Yeah, Cobalt Hero Power looks pretty good.
So many.
Would you have a Kobold and Goblin to save 4 to face?
I mean, you could go triple Lackey, right? Is very much a consideration to just go as wide as board on possible.
I guess with Sea Giant going into that turn, you might consider not doing that, but yeah, let's go take the 4, sorry. Seems okay for now, there's nothing on Tom's side of the board, but you've always got to worry about taking damage even this early, because like we said, 1 freeze and a Giant, and suddenly there's some problems.
Yes. Giant being found there for Tom, I think, is definitely the option he did not want to see. Mana Cyclone with his hand could have been so nutty.
This is why there was a consideration for Buffoon next turn, because Buffoon, the previous turn, because the 2 sets of bananas made the draw from Sandbinder good no matter what.
True. He was very weak to Witchy Lackey, I think, then in that instance, because it could have he could have value traded with the Miscreant, upgrade it again. Like, I think in order to deny early damage, this was a very reasonable line from Tom. Like, on average, it wouldn't have worked out as bad as it has.
Right.
And so I don't think he had to play for the exact out of Mana Cyclone off the top. Tom here looking somewhat like he might actually be forced into Frost Nova, which feels very, very bad, because he wants to go for the play of Giant Frost Nova. He doesn't particularly care which Giant, just whichever is playable. So that he can start setting up counter-lethal as quick as possible, because I think that's his only real win condition at this point.
I think if he goes just... Yeah, I wonder whether he's playing the Apprentice. Because what would worry me is he can't Nova and Arcane Intellect, and if he Novas, the Apprentice just gets backstabbed while he's in trouble. Wow. So I was wondering whether he holds the Apprentice, just Nova this turn, and then go bigger with the Apprentice next turn. But now Tom's just going off.
Tom has favored these kinds of plays where he makes really big spell turns without Mana Cyclone. And generally, these are plays that players do not do with Mage because they feel it much more necessary to go for a big Cyclone play. But look at the results that it yields.
But also look at the response from Surrender in terms of just his reaction, should I say, actually, to the end of that turn. Surrender was like, okay, cool.
Yeah,
the second he didn't see the Cyclone come down, he's like, right, done. You know, I don't have to worry about there being a million more spells in hand and my opponent having all this unplay-aroundable, that's my made-up word of the day, mage spells.
I believe undeal-withable is the usual parlance. I mean, Surrender just has
stuff.
Yeah, pretty easy ways to kill off everything here.
It's running a little bit dry, though, which means this push he's going to make is going to have to get some work done, or this draw off the top is going to have to be fantastic.
And I think it will get there, because Tom's most likely play is
Giant
Nova Giant. Yeah, on that turn, to which Surrender has the very easy play on. Walk that plank.
I'll say already this series...
He can't even do it anymore because he traded in.
Yeah, Walk the Plank has been the most effective I've seen, I think, all Grandmasters.
It's been nuts, yeah.
And this was my worry. I wonder if the other way around, because he could have drawn, right?
Right, so...
If he just Nova'd last turn, he could have then Sorcerer's Apprentice, drawn, had Ice, Ray of Frost, unless he used them the turn before to kill some stuff. And I feel like he needed to do something to that extent to actually get him out of this mess.
But I think for Tom, like, the fact that he pulled ahead on board that turn meant that if his board hadn't been answered, which I think there was a reasonable chance to expect that it wouldn't be cleared off, he could have then gone for a cheaper draw anyway, right, with an apprentice on board.
True.
It does, however, mean,
yeah,
that's just going to be game. Tom going down to the onslaught from Surrender here. And it does now mean Tom locked out. Surrender locked in, I believe, pretty much guaranteed with 9 wins now. I think even in the scenario, yes, because no one can now get more than 9 wins other than Alutemu, who could go up to 10, which means... Exactly. Yeah. So Surrender is not locked first seed. He is locked top 3 though. So congratulations.
Yeah, huge congratulations to Surrender. I'm pretty sure we'll get him on an interview in just a minute. But yeah, crazy series. Shout out to Tom. I think Tom's just a strange Hearthstone player, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, he has his own style of play, and a lot of the time it works out very well, or at worst you can see what he was attempting and it makes sense. It's just, I feel like Tom plays in such a strange way. I'd be terrified to play against him. Because he'd make a play and I'd be like, I don't even know what that means. You know, but it would be good in the long run, of course. So it's a shame he won't be able to make top 3, but this is what GM's like. So many good players, and there's only 3 spots through each division, so 3 out of 8. You know, we're going to be losing some players going into that playoffs next week.
We are. And having done some quick mental maths as well, I believe that victory for Surrender also means that Alutemu is locked into top 3. Because with 8 wins himself, the only other player now, there is not a possibility where 2 other players get up to 8 wins, because Staz is going to play Rivius. Staz is at 7 wins, Rivius is at 6 wins, but he's the only 6-win player that hasn't played yet. Both the other 2 in Frosty and Flurry have lost. So I believe that puts Alutemu in guaranteed top 3 as well. But the man of the hour, Surrender, is guaranteed for top 3.
Yeah, and he is here. Surrender, you can hear us? Can you hear us? Surrender. Can you hear us, Surrender? I'm guessing no.
I can hear you.
I know you can hear me. Sometimes I wish I couldn't hear you. But we'll come back to us while we sort Surrender out. Surrender doesn't even look like he's ready for it. He looked like he was just browsing.
You know what?
At Twitter.
To be honest, I reckon he probably could hear us. Just thought he'd play a classic Surrender prank. The absolute mad lad he is.
We did discuss this to some large extent last week. But yeah, imagine that. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna make these casters look really stupid and pretend.
Not that we don't do a good enough job of that ourselves.
I mean, we do a really good maybe sometimes too good a job of that. I do worry if I'm going to be asked to come back next week or not. Well,
no comment.
You know something clearly. But no, I'm like you said, if you're saying Surrender is pretty guaranteed to go through, then that makes me happy, because I like to see Surrender play Hearthstone. I think he's very good.
Me too. I think he's one of the best Hearthstone players, and also one of the more charismatic players that we have in the Asia Pacific region. It's obviously a little bit difficult with language barrier that we have with a lot of the players. Yes, us English people who speak one language and one language only.
Like 1.2.
I think I'll go with 1.1. I think that's the best that I can go for.
It's not a contest, Derek,
I'm more stupid than you. But yes, I think overall, I'm very, very glad to see Surrender going through, because he's always very fun to hang out with, and also very fun to watch him play. He's just very expressive with the way he plays Hearthstone, which I feel like is definitely not the case with some of the other Grandmasters who are very stoic in their gameplay.
Yeah, they want full focus. We are just, while we're starting to work on Surrender's interview to see if we can get it or not, we're actually going to take a break just for a minute, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with more Hearthstone Grandmasters.
My name is 현재장, and my Hearthstone nickname is Don. I'm streaming on Twitch. 처음 그랜드마스터가 되었을 때는 어느 정도 좀 하위 그룹은 면하고 싶다라는 생각도 하긴 했었는데, 확실하게 제가 그 프로로서의 모습을 보여주고 싶기 때문에 저는 플레이오프까지는 좀 목표를 두고 있습니다. 이제 제가 하스스톤을 하고 나서 가장 많이 바뀐 점 중에 하나가 부모님이 이 게임에 관심을 가지게 되고, 관심을 가지게 되시고, 또 아버지 같은 경우에는 방송에 관심을 가지게 되셨고, 어머니 같은 경우에는 실제로 이 하스스톤을 직접 플레이하고 계신다는 점이 좀 하스스톤 하고 나서 많이 바뀐 점인 것 같습니다. 제가 방송을 하는 걸 이제 보는 걸 굉장히 관심을 가지고 계시고, 아침에 이제 방송을 안 켰을 때 가끔 연락을 하시기도 합니다. 이제 2015년에 제가 처음으로 이제 우승을 하게 됐을 때 그때 한국에서 처음으로 1억이라는 상금을 획득하게 됐고 이제 그걸 기념하듯이 팬분들이 그 100K 원에 대해서 좀 그런 식으로 애칭으로 1던이라고 좀 불러줬던 그게 유래가 됐습니다.
We are back. Sorry about that break. We had to just jump to while we were making sure Surrender, his connection, everything was all right and set up because we do like talking to Surrender. And he did win the previous match. If you're just tuning in, he did beat tom60229. I believe you can hear us now.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Hey.
We're glad you managed it. So first off, congratulations. We believe that this means you are locked in for top 3. I'm not sure if you've done the numbers or not, but if that's the case, then that's awesome. But I just want to ask you, like, how are you feeling going into the matchup? Because that was a pretty crazy series.
Oh, yeah. About the matchup?
Yeah, so sorry, how are you feeling going up against Tom's Mage with the Rogue?
I feel like I was really favored in the series because I was playing Rogue and he was playing Mage. And yeah, his primary deck wasn't even good against Rogue.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of easy matchup.
Okay, and what sort of because this was a very important week for the getting into playoffs. What sort of practice did you go through, and how did you end up deciding on Rogue specifically? Just because there's Rogue, Warrior, Mage that everyone's really brought, and a bit of Hunter. How did you come up to Rogue for this very important week of Hearthstone?
Yeah, so I knew that everyone would bring Mage and Rogue and Warrior, and I was thinking what to bring before the submission. And for me, it was Rogue because Rogue is favored against Mage, and Rogue is playable against Warrior. I think it's 50-50. So yes, I think Rogue is the best class right now.
Okay, cool. Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of players are coming to the same conclusion as you across Grandmasters. But I have to ask, did all that practice with Rogue prepare you for that crazy game that you had in the middle there against Tom, where you discovered like the multi-shot, the cosmic anomaly, like all those random generations? How confident were you in your plays there, or was it kind of just hoping for the best?
I was just hoping for the best. Yeah.
That is very, very understandable. That's exactly what I would be hoping for too, as well as I was involved in that game. But we will let you go, and congratulations again on the win, and we'll see you a little bit later this weekend.
Yeah, see you.
See you. So yeah, again, I do believe that does lock him in, almost certainly.
Yes, it does.
But okay, well, Derek said so, so if it's
I'm
wrong...
putting it does. He's 100% top 3.
Okay, so we are going to be